just gonna jump right in. How's everyone doing? I know it's been a long time, and yeah, if I'm going through certain processes, everybody and their mother is going through processes right now. Yeah, this one I've been getting better at the wanting to be out of the cave and communicating with people. What's up, guys? And although I always have a lot to say, I've also been getting a lot quieter, and it's just ironic because now that I don't really want to speak is when I'm being asked to speak. And yeah, so that puts a whole new responsibility that I create for myself on myself, which is, what is it that I'm going to talk about? Why am I going to talk about it, and what's the point? the first thing that I have to keep in mind is I'm just talking to myself. I'm having a conversation with myself right now through different aspects. And what this conversation is going to be about, or this talk, because you guys can't speak back to me, it's going to be about awareness of your energy. I know that's a word that's thrown around a lot in spirituality and New Age, which is just ancient stuff. Being aware where your energy is and where you're putting it. And the thing about, what's up, Pink? The thing about energy and being aware of it is that you don't just have a conscious mind, you also have a subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind makes up the majority of the reality that you're experiencing. How you experience it is based on your conscious mind. And your conscious mind doesn't mean that you're conscious, doesn't mean that you're aware, it's just what you are aware of. If that makes sense. Like the mind plays this game of everything that I see is what it is, but really everything that I see is actually my perspective, unless you get to the point of I am and I'm fully aware. And as we all know, everything is energy. So your thoughts are energy, your emotions are energy, emotion, energetic motion. It's the energy that puts into motion the reality that you're having. And the thing that was motivating me to this conversation was something that was being motivated in the thought process that I was having for the last 2 years that I've been here in Taos. And it's been interesting being here in Taos because I don't know if you guys know about astrocartography. It's basically based on your natal chart, your natal information. It puts it over the globe, and you can see which planetary aspect is, or energy is pronounced on a certain location. So for me, New York City, I only have 3 in the United States. 2 of them are over New York City, which is Saturn and Mercury. And the third is Venus, which is directly over Taos, which is funny enough. And it's really cool to look into these things right now because they're tools, right? Just like tarot and astrology in general. I came to Taos not for what I thought. The universe, specifically these mountains, and my soul, God, they brought me here so that I could tap into my heart, or the Venusian aspect of myself, love. True love, which is just love, right? Unadulterated. So I thought that I was asked to come to Taos for a certain reason, but what I've been shown in the last 3 months is that reason was actually just a catalyst. that reason had everything that it took to get my attention to say, fuck it, I'm leaving New York, I'm moving to Taos. But it wasn't for that. It was for me to tap into my heart, which has been the wildest fucking thing that I've ever encountered, ever. And I played around with all the other planets and all the other energy centers. And the heart has been the most painful one. And it's only painful because of ideas, conceptions, perceptions, beliefs, right? Of what love is and how universal this fucking thing called love is. And the energy behind it. So I've been in Taos now for 2 years. And it's how it always worked. I thought that I knew what the hell I was doing here. And why working for individuals and their little plans and shit. And just watching everything that I was doing in Taos was just a reflection of things that I've been doing my entire life. These are cycles, right? You can't escape them. And I thought that I was just here to work for people, work for the people, work for someone, work for something. And it wasn't so at all. Those things are just what I've created throughout my life coming back to haunt me. No, it's just coming back to, again, cycles. Just to see what are you going to do now when this cycle returns again, right? Like you have your 30, 27, 28, 29, 30 year cycle of Saturn returning, right? And there's other cycles within cycles, and these are expansive and they're massive, and there's so many. And I mean, at least for me, this character, this persona Raven, I got about a handful in a year cycle. I've got all these cycles, you know. And one of the things was for me to realize where I have been putting my attention, my energy into. And not that there's a right or wrong. This is the game, you know? And I've been just giving energy to individuals, my full attention. And in quantum physics, you know, one of the things about quantum mechanics is that the observer, you, if you're looking at a particle, the particle only exists because, one, you are looking for that particle, right? You already thought about it. Now you're going to look for it however it is a quantum physicist look at fucking particles. But you're looking for it. So immediately, you've already created the particle. Yeah. Focus is paramount. And it's everything that you're giving your power to. Your power, your energy, that's your attention, right? So it's taken me 2 years of being here to finally come to this point, this realization that I have had a habit of giving my energy, my attention, my power away to so many other aspects of myself. And it's just a training ground, right? So it's really important, and when I say we, I'm just talking about myself, you know, take it as you will. But it's really important for me now to understand that, yeah, you can't destroy energy, but you can waste energy. You can exude energy. And because of the receptacles that we're in, you have to recuperate energy, you know, and these things take time. For cycles, right? The sun rises, the sun sets, the moon rises, the moon sets. We create time based on these things and others. So I've been giving my energy away for a really long time. And again, that's not a bad thing. It's just shit like this has to happen for me to realize, oh shit, I've been just giving it away, just fucking handing it out. So I stopped. But before I could come to the realization and the decision of I stop, I have had to have these months since March, the Corona stuff. You can say that I created it, you created it, we created it, right? As a time to kind of just sit back and go through the withdrawals of I can't go to the bar, I can't, giving your energy away uselessly, you know, with no purpose, with no intention. So I've been doing that since I've been in Taos, and that's just a repetition of what I've been doing my entire life. I mean, I've been able to go all the way back to my childhood. And the trick is to not judge yourself, just to look at it. I just laugh. I laugh every single time at every single memory that I have. Like, oh, I've just been throwing money away or throwing energy away, my attention, my power, my will, my being, the I am, right? To things that they don't matter, but they become matter, physical reality, right? Because you say so. Whether you say it or not, that's what you want. And I've had to accept, I've chosen to accept that I've been doing everything that I've wanted my entire life. And that one was really difficult, because you can say, damn, what about any pain or suffering? Did you want that? It's like, yeah, I did. I just wasn't conscious of it. So back to the energy thing, or the energy conversation, because I said subconscious. The subconscious part of your mind, I had a really good associate explain this, and I've heard this before, that if you think about an iceberg, right, what you see in the surface, the iceberg that we see, it's only about like 4%, 14% of the whole thing, but it's all you see. That's the conscious mind. That's the experience that I'm having, the reality that I'm having, right? The bottom, though, underneath the ocean, that 90-something%, that's your subconscious mind. And that motherfucker is creating and moving and influencing everything that happens with, and to, that small percentage, which is the conscious mind. And there's so much energy going on, so much creation going on in the subconscious, or the unconscious aspect of the mind. And those parts of the mind, that part of the mind, is fucking terrifying. If you do the work, really do the work, and I'm not just talking about doing lab work. You don't necessarily have to do lab work. Like, no one has to do lab work, right? It's just like, if you feel a calling, you do it. To me, the lab work is a lot. It expedites the processes. So you don't have to do alchemical laboratory work to get it, but it makes it a little easier. So you start to go into this only place, and for me, it was the subconscious. And for me, the work was through psychedelics, because I'm very mercurial. So I just, by nature, it's not even that I like to or prefer, it's just by nature, I just expedite everything. I just want to know, I just want to understand, I just want to get it, I just want to comprehend, so that I can articulate and then speak it into reality, right? So with my psychedelic work, the only place to fucking go is inside. Because you start to realize, like, I live in the third dimension. But I use two eyes. That was like a given to me. I didn't know how to articulate it, but I knew something seems really silly that I live in what's called the third dimension, where everything is three-dimensional, but I navigate the third dimension with two dimensions, or two eyes. So that's what led me to start doing the psychedelic work even deeper, and the only place I can go, which was, I mean, you do psychedelics, just close your eyes. That's it. You can call it meditation, whatever the fuck you want, just close your eyes. And what happens is that you go within. That's it. No one wants to ever do that. I was actually telling a loved one recently, it's funny because all the people that I've ever spoken to that have talked to me about psychedelics, the first thing they always tell me is that or I'll ask them, do you still do it? No. Why? I've heard a slew of excuses or reasons. None of them I'm not buying any of them. But it's too much. Or I didn't like what to see, I felt uncomfortable. Like, how can you feel uncomfortable about, okay, cool. I don't say anything to them, I just like listen, because it's a reflection of mine, which motivated me to go deeper. So I did. And when I went deeper, The only thing that I could see was self. I had no idea, but I just kept delving in deeper and deeper and deeper, right? So externally, my reality would say things such as, you should stop. You shouldn't do this anymore. You should, you're going to go crazy. You're going to end up in a psych ward. You're going to kill yourself. You may hurt someone, or you just may end up in prison or something, right? That's the child mind throwing a tantrum externally, though, to get me to stop, when you already know that if someone is telling me no, I want to know why you're telling me no. If there's a door in my reality, in my entire fucking reality, all my loved ones that care about me and shit are telling me not to go through that door, it's like, why would I not go through that door? And I've been going through that door and all the other doors that are within it for years now. And so back to this energetic thing, the subconscious, right? Your subconscious mind is creating the majority of the reality that you're experiencing. If there's any limitations, the only way to acknowledge, address, and change these things that we call limitations is to actually go within. There's no shaman, there's no guru, there's no speaker, there's no teacher that's going to give you anything, because the only answer is, like, you have to go within. That's it. And you have to extrapolate yourself out of the physical reality and go inside. And yeah, sure, this is all secret sciences and shit, but I don't care. It's 2020. But the really interesting thing about the subconscious is that it has layers too. And some of these layers include things such as what people call addressing the ancestral shit, or the ancestral wounds, or whatever. And you're going to see things that are really uncomfortable, that you don't resonate with, that you don't like, and you prefer for them to go away. But they're not going to go away. And the only reason they hurt is because you have a perspective of right and wrong, of good and bad, of light and dark, you know? And it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to go deeper and just find out. If you want to stop suffering, and anything that's outside of bliss, and when I say bliss, I mean you feel nothing. You don't feel joy either. You don't feel happiness. You don't feel elated. You don't feel high. You don't feel anything. There's no way you can feel anything because you have disconnected from the animal body, from the physical gross matter, right? And while doing this work with the subconscious, I started to see these beings, I think you can call them. They're all just aspects of the mind. But I started to see these things, and man, you can call them, and they've been called demons, jinn, parasites, vampires, right? And it's interesting because all these things they're things that drain your energy. That's all. And they don't work with what we call nature, because everything in nature works for itself and the other. So it's symbiotic. So all of nature is symbiotic, except for parasites, certain bacteria, certain viruses, demons, you know, succubi, incubi. Paracelsus talks about them, right? But you created all these things. And you created all these things because of the way that you live your life, the way that you navigate reality. So every single, if you look at your life, if you look at your reality right now too, you'll find, and don't take my word on it, my word for it, but just like look, observe, just contemplate on the people, places, and things in your reality, in your life, which are draining you. And this work, to do this kind of stuff, is terrifying. It's really unnerving, because sometimes it'll be persons, places, or things that you don't want to. There's no way there's no way that this person is doing XYZ. Now, time out from the stage for a second. You know, it's all you. So you're just performing with yourself right now, right? So you created these things. I created these things for myself. I created a maze that eventually turns into a labyrinth that eventually just leads to myself, right? But these things with vampires, and my most recent encounter for an extended period of time with one of these creations of mine, subconscious or unconscious creations of mine, I would use the archetype of vampire or sorcerer, right? And again, there's nothing wrong. There's just games. That's it. So what I started realizing was, oh, I have created these things called parasites in my reality. But also, as within, so without, I started realizing that I had these things in my body. And the works of King Solomon talk about this. The 72 demons that Solomon used to build his temple, the body is the temple, right? And the demons are just aspects of the mind that they're just like children that just take. And there's nothing wrong with children, right? They're great, they're cool. But they just take and they consume and just defecate, and you clean up after them, and but you know what I mean? But these things, as within, so without, I was doing a full protocol that I came up with certain clays and wormwood and thuja or thujon, these things that I was really just destroying what it felt like in the moment. I felt like I was destroying my body. But as I kept doing this, I started to see in my external reality, in the experience that I'm having, the external one, how there was conflict going on with certain individuals. And the conflicts took many different shapes and forms. But it's the same thing when you're killing, for example, candida in your gut, more in your body, because once your gut, the lining of your gut is fucked, now they're inside. They go into your cerebral spinal fluid, they go into your blood system, they go into your organs, they go into your heart, like, and try getting them out of there. You can't detox the fucking heart, like, physically, but they start to do things like control your emotions, control your thoughts, control your beliefs, control your eating habits, all of it, how you interact with other human beings. And a parasite doesn't fall, it doesn't congregate in the structure of nature the way all of nature does. What it does is that it finds a host, an environment, and it creates its own ecosystem in order for it to thrive, to spend some time dormant, to multiply and conquer, or just create the ecosystem in which it can survive in. The shit happens outside in your physical reality as well. So the idea that the warrior has to also know how to be the healer, and the healer has to also know how to be the warrior, starts to make a lot of sense. Because as a warrior, if one of my brethren is wounded, oh man, it would be way more helpful if I know how to be a healer. And the other way around, right? Some diseases or issues with the body cannot be addressed with medicine or healing. You can't make it better. You can't reverse anything because you can't reverse a parasite. The only thing you can do with a parasite is, I'm going to say one thing, but it's really two, and I'll get that. That's back to the Solomon work. You have to kill it. In order to kill something, you have to be a warrior, right? Where you have to disassociate from emotion, disassociate from thoughts and beliefs to kill something, because for a higher purpose. And these things will put up a fight. They will make you feel sick. They will make you feel nauseous. They will make you feel depleted. They will make you feel as if what you're doing is wrong and you have to stop. And they freak out. I would have dreams of things. I mean, I can feel them too. If it's like things crawling under my skin, freaking out, screaming that I'm hurting myself because they manipulate, right? And again, out of love for everything, like, I'm not judging it. I just know what I've created, and I'm taking full responsibility of it as the creator, as the I am, as a magician. And so I'm not judging them, but I know the game that's being played, and I know how to address the game, which is you have to eradicate it. And when you start to eradicate it, it's going to fight back. And when it fights back, whether it's inside or out, it's going to really put you to the test. Beautiful. Fucking beautiful. Because if you can get through it, through the nausea, through the diarrhea, through the fevers, through the chills, through the night terrors, if you can get through that shit, and you can, and you will, dude, you will fucking expand so fucking much. But you have to start somewhere, right? And it's first setting the intention of, I'm going on this mission, I'm going on this journey, right? I'm going on this adventure. It depends on how you want to take it. And I gotta address things. And I started realizing vampires that I had in my reality, that I created, that were just draining my everything. You know, I had one sleeping next to me for a year of my life here in Taos, and I got lab work done in that year probably 3 times. And there was like others in this place, in this Taos place that I created. And that's all I was doing. I was just giving my energy and my power away. But the thing is that I knew the entire time that something wasn't adding up. Because they play little games like guilt trips, that they have so much knowledge and power and money and all this shit, right? It's nothing though. It's just your reality reflecting back your fracture points, your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities. And I didn't get any work done for a year. I probably did 3 lab processes the entire time, thinking, why am I not doing the one thing that I actually want to do, which is lab work? Why am I entertaining this thing? What am I doing right now? But the mind is so wrapped up in the game of the manipulation of it. It's like, there's no fucking way. There's no way I love this person. There's no fucking way. But the fact that those thoughts are happening, yeah, man, that shit is coming from intuition. But you fight it. You struggle with it. You're Jacob, right? Israel. You wrestle with God, but you're really just wrestling with yourself the entire time. And yeah, someone asked me around the time that I came here to Taos, they asked me, hey, do you believe in vampires? I was like, they're there. I see them. Okay. What would be the archetype? What would be the archetypical like structure of a vampire when we talk about alchemy? And I didn't have an answer. But fuck, that shit stayed with me for a long time. And while I've been here. So I started to realize, I started to think, a vampire and alchemy. It doesn't make any sense. But just to fast forward and get to the point, I realized I thought, I don't want to make the stone. I don't care for it. I don't want to be a king. I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to be a teacher, a guru, nothing. I'm just a magician and I want to be left alone. That's it, right? But that's not what's happening. But I've had encounters with individuals that show up and all they want to do is talk about the stone. It's like, well, I mean, if it happens to you, it happens, right? If you make it, you make it. But it's just, you can make it in a lab, but you don't have to. You can just realize what it is, right? It's just truth. How can a vampire, how can an individual, if you make the Philosopher's Stone, you are immortal, right? This is one of the many lores, the many mythologies and stories behind it. And I was like, wait a minute, vampires are immortal. So how do I correlate vampires and alchemy and the Philosopher's Stone together? It's like, wait a minute. I fucking bet you that you can make the Philosopher's Stone in a laboratory without putting yourself through the trials of fire. Because you can be a very, very cunning, intellectual being full of just so much knowing. You can follow a recipe. If you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you don't have to be the king, the crown, the king, right? Doesn't have to exalt in the heart. That's how you have tyrants. Those are kings that made themselves kings, or they were made kings because of noble blood or the bullshit, right? But you don't have to, as a king, exalt yourself in the heart. So if you don't have to be a king, if you're a king, you don't have to exalt yourself in the heart. Well, then that's what happened. You can make the Philosopher's Stone and not be tethered into love, true, the one thing. And now we talk about sorcery, just up here. The crown just stays there; it doesn't come down to the earth, the heart, the earth, right? The anagram. So, if someone was to make the Philosopher's Stone without being tethered into the heart, there has to be something has to happen that some sort of imbalance, right? So now that this human has made the Philosopher's Stone and consumed it and died and woke up in another fucking reality, I feel like that's just part of the game that being was playing, so that it's shortcutting it. And you can shortcut anything, except you won't be able to have the full experience. So vampires are parasites. They live forever, but they have to continue to consume the attention, the blood, the life force, the energy of another living being. And that's not fucked up, it just is what it is, right? So you can have false prophets walking around telling you things, like it's taking the truth and speaking it, but masking it with bullshit. Whether they're doing it intentionally or not, it doesn't matter. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they don't know that they're doing that, because they're just caught up in this game that they're playing. So this is how the archetype of a vampire, right? Someone that winds up making the Philosopher's Stone the thing of immortality and power, and can corrupt it by corrupting themselves. This is where the king doesn't exalt himself in the heart and only thinks about themselves, and that's it. And you have to start to see, am I doing that? Are there others around me doing that? And if I'm doing it, I want to stop. And if others are doing it, or someone else is doing it, I have to cut the head off this hydra, because it won't just be one person. From what I've experienced, it wasn't just one person. It was many. It was many. And it's like, you really gotta, that sword, truth, fire, and air, you really gotta be ready. No emotions, no non-attachment, right? It's like, I love you, and because I love you, but I love myself as well, I have to kill you. I have to cut your head off. And you have to think, you have to do this quickly, because you'll start to see all the other ones freak out. So one way or another. They play these manipulation games, these head games of, they keep you here, they get rid of you, they keep you here, they get rid of you, they moving you around their chessboard and shit. Oh man, when it's time to kill this dragon, you have to do it. So this is how the archetype of a vampire and the story of the Philosopher's Stone can actually be a story within itself. You can make you can make the Philosopher's Stone without being integral and authentic and tethered into the heart. And this is how you become the archetype of a vampire, and you just suck and drain and drink, survive like a parasite, like a fucking parasite, off the lives, the attention, the energy of other human beings. Or other things, but yeah. So I realized this, and I've been slowly just no judgment, no hard feelings, no emotions, just cutting the head off every single dragon that I've created in my life for myself. And you will too, and you can too, but you will too when you start to get into these works. It's inevitable, you cannot avoid it, and it's happening to every single fucking being in this planet, because if it's happening to me, it's happening to you too. But don't take my word on it, right? Go see that shit for yourself. I'm just giving you context and perspective so that if you do decide to be the fortunate one that decides to go deeper into this work, you got a reference point. You got something to, you know what I mean? I didn't have that shit. So lucky you, whoever you are, that's going to go further with this fucking work. So what I wanted to share as I go a little deeper with this is, I don't know if you guys have heard of Madame Blavatsky and Theosophy. I take all these things very lightly. I just extrapolate what I resonate with and just get rid of the shit, right? But Blavatsky was an awesome woman. She was fucking dope as fuck. I respect her. I'm not a theosophist. I'm not a anything. But she, using Hindu and other, I want to say religious, but structures of thinking, came up with an idea called the 7 principles of man. And these are the 7 energetic principles that make man, right? So I'll give you like a quick rundown of them, and we'll start from the bottom up, or from the physical upward, right? And the first one is the Sthula Sharira. And in Sanskrit, Sthula is the gross, and in alchemy we call that the gross matter. The physical reality that you're having, right? It's not refined. And Sharira just means to waste away. It's not a bad thing, it's just what's happening. You're just wasting away. And this streams from the astral vehicle. So if you think about this reality, it's a projection of the dimension right above it, or within it, whatever you want to call it. For layman reasons, we'll just say, because this is the third, that means that there's a fourth. And in the fourth dimension, where the thing that's creating this illusion of Raven is allocated, that is called the Linga Sharira. And Linga just means the physical body, or the astral model of what's going to be this physical experience, right? And the Linga Sharira causes the Sthula, the first one, to grow. Now we're going backwards, right? So the one that's the physical reality is the Sthula, number 1. So everything is actually pushing towards the other thing below it, right? The next one is called prana. And prana, or pra, means before in Sanskrit. And ana, or an, means breath. The breath before the linga, which creates the physical reality, the Sthula. The next one is the kamas rupa. And kam just is Sanskrit for desire. It's not what I want or need, it's just like the internal desire. It's the driving force. It's all your aspirations, the electrical impulses that you just wind up doing something and you don't think about it. It's usually just coming from the kamas. And then the 5th is manas, or manas, man. And man is Sanskrit for to think. It's the human persona, it's the egoic consciousness. And when it's embodied, when you embody that aspect of yourself, it starts to create dualism. the inside and out, the male, female, the black and white. And but the manas has this habit of gravitating between both sides, again, because it creates duality, but that means that it's the polarity of left and right, up and down, in and out. And it's the egoic consciousness. And it veers between the manas and the next one, which is the buddhi, or the buddhi. And the buddhi is to, or bud means awaken, to enlighten, to know. It's the pure universal spirit, without all the shit from the mind, right? Like the physical brain. And the last one is the atma. And that is the actual self, the self. Not myself, not yourself, but self, with a capital S. And it's just pure consciousness. Pure, unadulterated consciousness. Not like conscious because I can see, but consciousness because I am. I am aware, without duality. I know that I am the center of the left and the right, of the good and evil, right? I know that I am the center of everything. It's like smoking DMT or 5 grams of mushrooms or shit ton of LSD. So the purpose of me explaining these, or sharing a little bit of these 7 principles of man, is if you were paying attention, every single one of these things is just energies. That's it. And one energy gives birth to the next energy. That becomes an embodiment, which gives birth to another energy. That becomes an embodiment, right? And the whole point of this conversation with parasites and energy and vampires is this physical thing that we're having is so small compared to the bigger forces at work. I've been realizing that as a magician, I don't have a lot to say, actually. I thought that I always had. I don't really have a choice except to perform accordingly with the awareness of what is, or not to. To be unconscious. Or to be conscious and just not make the decision to play. So if I decide to go outside, eat some mushrooms, dance naked around with my drum and make it rain, it's not necessarily because of my want for it to rain that it rains. It's more of an authentic state of being, right? Like you're tapped into what is the stream of gnosis, of understanding of consciousness. So if I'm not in the way of something higher, if I'm not standing in the way of my own awareness, then what happens is that I become aware of everything that's happening as it's happening. And what I can do as a magician is I can, without thought, it's so beautiful, right? This is intuition. This is to just be. The fact that I went outside, ate some mushrooms, started dancing around naked, drumming for it to rain, I'm just playing with what's going on, right? So doing things like this are little examples of harnessing your own power, like actually taking hold and responsibility of the power that you have, the energy that you have inside. But before you can get to these things, you have to address the parasites, the vampires, the demons that you have created subconsciously around you at all times throughout your whole life that are just distracting you. But they're just physical representations of your subconscious child that doesn't want responsibility. It just wants to play. It just wants to run around the woods and hug the trees and be barefoot and connect, and which is cute. Like, that's great, but it's not actual work. Children don't build megalithic structures that harness the power of the earth to make shit happen. Children don't do that. Children don't do that at all. There's never been a fucking child on this fucking planet that has ever done that. The only thing that does that is the mature human adult within. And if you look back at the 7 principles of man, you start to realize, like, oh, fuck, I'm just acting like a kid. I'm acting like a little baby. That's all I'm doing. And that's all I've been doing. I've been addressing life and death and sexuality and desire and pleasure. I've been addressing and I've been approaching everything through the eyes, through the lenses, through the perspective of a child. That's it. So you can look out in the world and you can start to see this is what it looks like when children are in charge. When children who have power as well think that because they're 40, 50, 60, 70 years old or whatever, right? That they have hundreds of thousands of billions of trillions of dollars. The world that you see outside is the world of individual children who have somehow allocated energy and can make a decision, and that's it. But there's no one to blame. You can't get mad at a child for doing the shit that they do, but you actually have to tap into Saturn and step in and do something about it. It's not joining Antifa or Black Lives Matter or any of that ruckus. It's not. Any movement, it's just a child throwing a tantrum. You understand? Whether it's pro or anti-abortion or it's pro or anti-religion, you succumb and subscribe to some sort of spiritual or brotherhood movement. It's just a bunch of fucking children just getting together and that, oh, we're pissed off about this thing or we want this thing, so we all do it. But it's just kids. And those vampires, the parasites, the viruses, the bacteria, the fungal infections that you see within your body and outside, they're just childish aspects that are just fucking taking. I've never raised a child, but I got Alistair, my dog, and I can tell you right now, it's been a very, 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 very rewarding but yet intense and tiresome experience of raising a puppy to be a dog, to be my best friend, to be my comrade, to be my accomplice, to be my protector, my guardian, as I am those things to him as well. But I have to see him through and walk him through with diligence, discipline, structure, design, intention, to kill away the little childish aspects, the little puppy aspects that he has. Now, how do you do that for the world? That's a different picture. That's a different thing, because if you want to see any change in the world, you have to be the change that you want to see. You actually have to be that change. And that's way easier said than done. Or I prefer to say it, but not actually to practice what I preach. Because it's much easier to sit here and anywhere and just talk shit. Oh, the world needs... What the fuck are you doing with yourself? Stop putting it on the world. Stop putting it on the children. What the fuck are you doing to raise the vibration of yourself? What the fuck are you doing to lubricate the friction that's going on as you go through these shifts? Are you taking responsibility for yourself, or are you putting it on other people? Putting it on a guy that's in charge of the free world right now, known as America, putting all the blame on him, right? Children talking shit, right? Putting it on the police, putting it on this, that we need more rights, that we... Children, and you're just blaming children. It's like, you cannot see any fucking change until you do the change within yourself. And while you're doing that work of changing yourself, you will come to realize there was nothing to change. And that was my favorite phase. Shut the fuck up, mind your fucking business, and do your fucking work. Or as Jordan Peterson says, clean up your room. Before you go out into the world and talk shit about people and their dirty homes and shit like that, have you even cleaned your fucking room up? Truly cleaned it. The bed, the cabinets, really do a deep, thorough cleaning. And not just once a year for spring, but all the fucking time. And the more you do this, the less you actually have to do, right? So... But this all requires you to take responsibility for your own energy, for your own power. And to stop giving it away to everything, whether it's technology, giving it to social media, right? Like, everything requires discipline. You want to fuck somebody? Where's the discipline in that? You want to eat food? Where's the discipline in that? You want to get online? Where's the discipline in that? You want to say that I am a blah, blah, blah? Where's the discipline in that? You want to talk anything about anything that's going on in the world? Where's the discipline with yourself first? Have you sat down, which another way of saying grounding, right? Because energy, electricity, mercury, right? It's all fucking, electricity is just fucking zigzagging, right? When you don't give electricity a ground, things get explosive. When you create a ground, you can at least contain electricity, energy. Get really good at that, and the next step will be to actually start to create circuits. Because then you give the energy somewhere to go. But that means that you have to create a purpose, right? And then you have to ask yourself, whoa, why am I creating a circuit? What is the purpose of me? Like, yeah. Because you're the fucking builder. This is the Egyptians. This is Tesla. This is the Anunnaki, whatever the fuck you want to call them. These are beings that were already exalted within themselves, and they understood that everything is fucking energy. The universe is energy. Your thoughts are energy. Your emotions, your electrical motions, the things, the electricity that gives motion to, right, motivation, right, to that creation itself. It's you. That's it. It's just you. So there's no one to blame, right? No mom and dad. They were there too much or weren't there enough, or I was an orphan, or I grew up in the cold streets of the Bronx. Like, no, man, it's just you. What are you doing today? What are you doing in this very moment to actually harness this energy? And you can say that this conversation or this talk is the beginning of it. But we all do shit like this, right? We go to the gym, we sign up, we start paying, $50, $60, $70 a month to go to the gym. We go hard. Yeah, I got this. I'm gonna lose so much fucking weight. I'm gonna look so fucking good. The bitches are gonna be going crazy. These niggas are gonna fucking love me. I'm gonna look so good. You don't even go a full month. You just slack off, and you're just like, that is that part in which you don't even recognize that moment where you just didn't go to the gym anymore. That first day that you said, I'm not going today, whether you were conscious of it or not, that's what you got to pay attention to. And just do it again. Don't beat yourself up. I tend to beat myself up. It motivates me, but I'm laughing the entire fucking way. But you got to start somewhere, right? You got to build a ground first. You got all this fucking energy, all this fucking power, all this fucking creative everything, just zigzagging, fucking pulsating through every single energy center, every organ. Just ground it first. Ground yourself. I'm not going to sit here and talk about how you could do that. Just Google, but grounding that energy first is how you begin to set the intention. You give attention to this thing. This is quantum physics now, right? The particle only exists because the observer is paying, giving attention, power, energy. It is manifesting, it is creating, right? You show the universe that you have this intention of, I want to do, I'm not a fan of words like better. I want to do more. I want to push my limitations that I've created for myself further. Where do I start? I'm going to build a ground. And you build a ground. It may not be the one that it may not be the most solid structure or foundation at first, but before creating a bunch of fucking structures, I mean, you got to go back to your whole timeline and realize I had to now destroy every single one of the structures in which I've created, every Tower of Babel or Babel that I've created. Maybe I could take it down before God just boom fucks it up. You know what I mean? You have the opportunity now to do that. You don't have to be going to this like traumatic fucking experience. It's already been traumatic. Why not just take a chance, right? Do it yourself. And I'm going to build a foundation. I admit, I don't know at all or entirely what the fuck I'm doing. I don't. But, and this is where things like the Bible are really, really fucking cool. Don't take the Bible literally, just take the lessons from it, right? I admit that I don't know what I'm doing. So, but I know that there's something higher, there's something more powerful outside of this physical reality. And I just want its guidance. Call it God, your higher self, the user, the alien having the experience, whatever you want to call it. Call out to it. Get the mind out of the state of egoism, of myself, and just admit it. I cannot do this without you. I do not know what I'm doing, but I feel that I want to do more. I've created limitations for myself, and I want to exceed those limitations, but I cannot do this alone. I'm asking for your help. And this is what prayer, mantras, manifestations, whatever the fuck you spell work, right? Whatever you want to call it, journaling. It's really important because you start to write these things out, either here or physically, and you start to set the intention of, I've been running amok like a fucking child my entire fucking life. My entire life I've just been a child, and I was raised by children, my parents are children, my grandparents are children, my great-grandparents are children. That ancestral shit is just children, having children, raising children, as children, with children. I want to take responsibility for all of it and be the first one in my bloodline. Like, I'm Puerto Rican, so I've got all these fucked up shit going on, right? The French, the Spaniards, the Portuguese, the Norse. I've got a lot of shit that I gotta contend with and apprehend and exalt, but I'm stopping everything. Today's the day, and I'm doing it right now. I'm stopping everything that's been, and I'm taking control of my power instead of just giving it away to children, right? This is becoming the disciplined, exalted parent to your reality. Your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your parents, your teachers, like, they're all your children. That shit fucks you up a little bit when you start to realize it, but they're all your children. And you have an opportunity right now, especially after this conversation that I'm having with myself, to seize the moment, to freeze it, to stop it, and say something along the lines of, I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it. Fuck it. It's not because it'll make me a better person. It's not because I'm gonna have more money. That's all egoic shit. Let's go further than that, right? Why? Because I realize that there's something that's already happening, and I'm either gonna go along with it and perform with the stage that's been presented to me, and I still get to improvise. That's the fun part. I still have lines to follow, but I get to improvise. So I can make this however the fuck I want to. But you have to address those things outside of yourself. The vampires, the parasites, the manipulators, all that shit, right? And stop blaming. Stop blaming the president. He's doing great. Stop blaming the government. Look, it's been faulty for a while. So have you. So have I. And when I say that we can do this together, I'm not trying to sound like that guy. But the thing is that I'm doing it, and so are you. And that's why we're sitting here listening to what we're listening to. It's just a reminder. I'm figuring it out just as much as you are. And yeah, but to kind of sound like that guy, we can do this together. We could talk about it. You guys can DM me, and whatever the fuck. Or just knowing that if you close your eyes, that you're not alone. You're by yourself sometimes, but you're not alone, because I get that feeling when I'm here and on this mountain in Taos all by myself. I have no friends. I have no family. I have no one out here. I got my dog and my plants. I gotta do this shit by myself, right? There are individuals that have been showing up and have been there, but in the grander scheme of things, these kind of sciences, I can't talk to anyone that I know out here. And I had to get over feeling like I was abandoned. I came out here thinking that the circle of friends and family that I had were going to always be there, and they were just a lesson for me to mature on my own. But we could do this together because we're doing it right now. So we're doing this together. Just don't forget that. harness your power, cut the shit, and let's grow the fuck up.